Students, now we are continue our yesterday's topic. That is, and we were discussing about Mauryan and Gupta's kingdom or administrative system yesterday. So we have learned about Saptanga theory. So the Saptanga theory developed by Ardhashastra, Saptanga theory and Ardhashastra written by Vishnu Gupta or Kautilya. So we are continue today with Gupta administration. So yesterday we stopped at administration of justice. The Mauryan king was the head of justice in Mauryan era. So the king was the head of justice. But there were special tribunals of justice both in the cities and country, presided over by Mahamatras and Rajukas, and the court were of two types, that is Dharmasya or civil, and Kantaka Shodhana. Kantaka Shodhana is nothing but it's a criminal courts. So and also there were police headquarters, and the courts were established in all principal towns and cities. The chief justice was known as Dharmadhikari. Now also chief justice called as a Nyayadisha or Nyayadhikari, Dharmadisha or Dharmadhikari. So we adapted the term Dharmadhikari from Mauryan Empire. The maladministration and ensure judicial fairness and implenary by judicial officials. The king employed a special class of officers to conduct quasi-federal or some province every 3 years. So 3 and 4 years. As per the Mauryan kingdom was ruled with first they followed the Hindu laws. As per Hindu laws, they followed. After that, the Mauryan Empire converted into Hinduism to Buddhistic culture. Okay. So Hindu Dharma Shastra, as per Hindu law, as embedded in the Shastras, were administrative in civil cases. A large number of ordinary offense like giving false evidences, so skip of government taxes, causing serious harm to the victims or who disobedient to the Hindu laws. So, and workmen were punished by with normal punishments, and judicial torture was used extract confessions. Okay, so now we are going to enter into military administration. How was the military administration was in Mauryan Empire? The Mauryans developed a huge military setup because Mauryan was ruled entire Akhanda Bharat from south to Aryavarta to that northern province. Okay, so for that Mauryan needed a huge military setup. For that, the Mauryans were developed a huge military setup and well-organized control system to maintain and govern it. The king himself acted as head of the military administration. So, ultimately, king was the head of the administration. Any kind of administration, he was a head. So, for that, we called as a king is a key pin of the kingdom, right? So the entire control of army was in the control of Senapati or commander in chief. Senapati. Okay. So dear students, you have to remember this type of words. Uh, so the commander in chief or Senapati, who was directly appointed by the king and was consulted on all matter of welfare. Apart from the separate in charge for our armory, the affairs of the army were managed by the elaborate setup of war office or military commission consisting of 30 members. So there was a setup to select the military or commander in chief with 30 members of 30 members council. Okay. So it was further divided into 6 boards, each consisting of 5 members and each looking after the one particular section of army. So army was divided into different sections with consisting of 5 members council or board. Okay, so each board had superintendent who carried out the routine work of his department. So that decentralized military administration also we can see in Mauryan administration. Then now that's all for Mauryan administration. Now we are going to enter into features of Gupta's administration or Gupta administration. Okay, so after the Mauryans, Guptas was ruled little lengthy. For that, now we also there was a systematic setup in Gupta's administration also. For that, we are referring Mauryas and Gupta's administration. According to historians, the Gupta's dynasty was a Vaishya's dynasty. Vaishyas, okay. Vaishyas are nothing but merchants or different trading people. So, according to Michael Brangan, the rise of Gupta Empire was on the most prominent violation of the caste system in ancient India. Guptas established an efficient administrative system in the empire. The Gupta period was characterized by all-round peace. So Guptas tried for a all-round peace and prosperity and intellectual development. So intellectual development, prosperity, and all-round peace are nothing but it's an all-round development of the society. So they were trying for all-round development in the society. So for that they established different administrative system referring from Mauryan administration. Gupta's period is regarded as the golden age in Indian history. It's called as a golden age. So the Guptas inherited the administrative system of earlier empires. So after the Mauryans, Gupta empires was ruled, and Gupta empire emperors called as a golden golden period or golden era of the Indian history, golden age. So now we can look into the role of the king. So ultimately, king as much enjoyed his powers. The king was all powerful and all powers were concentrated in him. But the rulers did not interfere in the day-to-day administration of the region which accepted their sovereignty. Elaborate administrative system was evolved in the regions of empire which were under the direct control of the Gupta's kingdom or Gupta kings. Okay, so the king was a king consists of ultimate powers within his hand, but he was never interfere day to day administrative mechanism. Okay, so he was enjoyed his powers with supremacy, but he did not interfere into the day-to-day administrative system. So there was also, we can easily identify that a decentralized system, how Gupta kings was decentralized their administrative system. Okay, now the element of the divinity was attached to the kings, and they were looked as a god and god's representatives. So these gods and king was god. They consider the people was considered king was a god or god's representatives. So the king adopted high sounding titles such as a Maharaja, Dhiraja, okay, Paramabhattarika, Chakravarti, Parameshwara, etc. The king, these Gupta kings was started the great titles with their names: Maharaja, Dhiraja, Paramabhattarika, kind of titles. His proposes titles Parameshwara, Rajadiraja, Paramabhattarika indicates the existing of lesser princes, and chiefs with whom he had to come to terms in his empire. The maintenance of the Varnashrama Dharma. Varnashrama Dharma means Varna similar to caste, but it's different between Varna and caste system. So Varnashrama Dharma. So Varnashrama Dharma appear as an important royal duty in Gupta inscription imposed upon the king, who is described as the giver of thousands of gold coins. Okay. The second change noticeable in the Gupta's kingship is not qualitative but quantitative, and relates to its divine associations. They are compared to Vishnu as regard their functions of preserving and protecting the people, and Lakshmi, wife of Vishnu and goddess of prosperity, appear on many Gupta coins. So we can identify how Guptas was ruled and which dharma was Guptas followed by seeing of their coins, gold coins. So in that coins, we can see that Vishnu, Lord Vishnu and his wife. So you people must aware about Vishnu and Mahalakshmi. So in Gupta's administration, how was the government? Is that centralized or decentralized? Now we are slowly going to enter the central government. Okay, the study of the epigraphical records of the Gupta Empire shows that there was a hierarchy of administrative divisions from top to bottom. Now also we are enjoying the from top to bottom administrative systems nowadays, and the empire was called by various names such as Rajya, Rashtra, Desha, Mandala, Prithvi, and Avani. Okay, so the empire was called as a Raja. Now also we can call we know about Raja or Rashtra. Okay, there was a different meanings of these words or terms. So it was divided into 26 provinces. 26 provinces, which were seteral as Bhukti, Pradesha, and Bhoga. Okay, I'm repeating again. So the provinces were also divided into, the provinces divided into Bhukti, Pradesha, and Bhoga. Provinces were also divided into Vaishyas, Vishyas, and uh, put under the control of the Vishayapatis, Vishaya and Vishayapatis. Okay, each department had its own seal. Number of Mahasenapatis to watch over the feudatories. Mahasenapatis, a system was there. So they were overlooked onto these Vishayas or Vishayapatis and different divisions. Okay, and foreign ministers like Sanidhi or Sandhi probably supervised the foreign policy or foreign affairs towards the feudatory states. Okay, the whole organization was bureaucratic, as in the case of Mauryas. To some extent, the administration mellowed with the Guptas. Police regulation were less severe. Capital punishments also rare, and glowing tribute were paid to the Gupta's administration by Fehan. Okay, there was no needless interference of the government in the lives of the people. It was temperate in the repression of crime and tolerant in matter of religions. Next, how was the Council of Ministers? So the ministry system ruled by Gupta's kings. Okay, the king was assisted by the Council of Ministers. So here also we can compare with Mauryan administration. The Council of Ministers are same. Okay, so which was almost hereditary. So there was no merit-based system, that hereditary. The supreme judicial power was vested in the king, but the Mahadandanayaka carried out the judicial function. So, dear students, you can slight difference compare with the Mauryan administration to Gupta's administration. So, in Mauryan administration, the king was the supreme power and as also supreme justice. But here, the judicial power distributed into Mahadandanayaka. Okay, so Mahadandanayaka carried out the judicial functions, and Council of Ministers was often hereditary and very often. So there is a hereditary system in Council of Ministers. So ministers combined in themselves with many offices. Some ministers accompanied the king to the battles. Chief ministers headed the ministry. The king appointed ministers, commanders, and governors, etc. Monarchs took high-sounding titles, Supreme Lord and Great King, King of the Kings, and king was at the affix prince, princess, often viceroys. So there was a system, king, and prince was, viceroys. So ministers called by different names such as mantrin or mantri or amatya or sachiva. So these titles called as a for ministers, mantri, amatya, or sachiva may have returned the despotic activities of the king, and ministers or advisors formed part of a higher bureaucracy of the Guptas or Gupta kingdom. The higher officials like Mahamatra under the Ashoka and the Amatyas under the Shatavahanas. The Kumaramatya formed the chief cadre of officers. Several higher officials like Harisena and Kumaramatya held the severe or several important portfolios, and Kumaramatya held the office of the Mahashwapati and Mahadandanayaka. Next, provincial administration. So how was the provincial administration in Gupta's era? So Guptas evolved the first systematic provincial administration, provincial and local administration. So Guptas was started, local administration that called as a decentralized administration. This was a primarily concerned with the collection of, so main role or main duties of the local administration formed to collect the revenues and maintenance of law and order. So for that, they decentralized their provinces to collect revenue and maintenance of law and order. The core of the empire was divided into a number of provinces. A Gupta province was smaller than a Mauryan provinces. So here also one of the little a small comparison with Mauryans to Gupta's administration. So the Mauryas started the provinces very large or huge, but Gupta's provinces was, very limited boundaries, more decentralized than Maurya's administration. So the Gupta province was smaller than Mauryan province, but much larger than modern division. Okay, the empire was divided into a number of provinces, which were called, bhuktis. Bhukti. The bhukti was the largest administrative unit under the Guptas, and there were at least 6 such divisions or over the Bengal, Jharkhand, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Madhya Pradesh. So the students, I'm repeating here, the Bhuktis was largest administrative unit in Gupta's administration. Okay, so there were at least 6 such divisions over Bengal and Jharkhand, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so the Uparika was in charge of the Bhukti. So Bhukti is the largest unit, and Uparika was in charge of Bhukti, and it was divided into groups of districts called Pradeshas or Pradeshas. Okay, so Pradeshas were divided into Vishayas or districts. The head of the district was Vishayapati, who was assisted by various officials. A Vishayapati administrated the Vishayas with the help of Adhikarana, Council of Representatives, which comprised of 4 representatives of Nagarashreshti. So there was a unit called as a Nagarashreshti and Sartavaha second. That is Prathama Kulika and Prathama Kayastha. Okay, so a part of the Vishaya was called Vithi. There were also trade links of Gupta's business with the Roman Empire. So Guptas started trading with the Roman Empire, and the evidence of the Damodarpur plate inscriptions reveals that Upakarika named Arthadatta was functioning like police chief's controller of military stores, chief justice, or Mahadandanayak, okay, which itself is an evidence of the existing of an organized hierarchy of royal blood, okay. So maintained law and order and protected people against external aggressions, also looked after public utility services. Then in the early times, the Kumaramatya was in charge of Vishaya, but later on it came to be placed under the Vishayapati. Earlier, Kumaramatya was in charge of Vishaya. It slowly turned into Kumaramatya to Vishayapati. So his power and authority was based on his ability to possess the number of elephants and cavalry, and infantry force under his control. So the Vishaya was divided into, Vithi, which consisted of villages which formed the lowest unit of administration. Villages looked after houses, streets, temples, banks, etc. So now also the village system, same as Gupta village system. Each village had its own weavers, blacksmiths, and goldsmith, carpenter, etc. So here we can identify the caste system or varnashrama dharmas, how varnashrama dharmas practiced in Gupta people or Gupta kingdom kings, we can identify here. Okay. So next, there was also city administration or urban administration called Purapalas. So town administration, we can say the name Purapalas, called as a towns, looked after town administration with the help of the town councils represented by the chief of the guilds. So there was a guild system started by Gupta kings. So chief of the guilds called Nagara Shrest, or Nagara Seths, right? Represents of urban trading circles, the Sartavaha. The Sartavaha represented the trading communities, the Partha Prathamakulika. Prathamakulika represented the crafting communities, artisans. The Prathama Kayastha represented government officials. Pastupala or Pustapala were junior district level record officers. So Prathama Kayastha represented to oversee or overlook the government records. So he was maintained the government official records, or shasanas, and Pustapala also record like district level record officer, you can say, right? Dear students, if you have any doubt, please post on chat box. We will discuss after this class, okay? And I will give you some time to discuss this topic by the end of this session, right? Thank you. No, we will continue.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, students, here Guptas maintained a systematic village administration. So the village was the lowest administrative unit during the Mauryans and Guptas period also. So Guptas started village administration for collecting of revenues and maintaining of law and order. The village administration worked independently and enjoyed autonomous status. So there is a village administration. First, we have to note down the point, that is a village administration, and there was a independent or autonomous, autonomous bodies. So, and each village had its own seal. So perfect decentralized village administration was ruled by Guptas and Mauryans. So the villagers themselves, the villagers themselves look after their interests. Now also governments are look after, so Manavuru, Mana Pranalika kind of, the they are maintaining or adapting from Mauryans and Guptas king village administration. Okay, so the village administration is an independent, and Gramika, called as a Gramika. Gramika was the head of the village, but there were other officials also known as Seema Karakar. Okay, Seema Karakar, and who demarcated the boundaries in the village, and Puramari or Puramatri, right? Okay, I'm repeating this word, Purumatri. Okay, and he is the surveyor or measures of land. Then Druvadikarika, controller of king to share from farm produce, yields or farms produce, and Gopa or Talavatika was the village accountants. So he will look after the village accounts. Okay, the village officers maintained law and order and acted as custodians of the life and property of the village. So mainly the village level officers overview the village level administration and law and order, and they are they are their self themselves only. They were collecting revenue, and they will look after the law and order. So Guptas were known for their decentralized form of governance. Now we are discussing about governance kind of issues. So the governance first started in India, the Gupta kings. Okay, Gupta kings. So form of governance, the village headman was treated as a lord of village. Okay, so he was called as a Gramika or Gramapati or Gramadhyaksha, solved all village level disputes with the help of village unit or village level council, called as a Mandali. Pancha Mandali, slowly converted as a Panchayat. Okay, so Pancha means 5. So there was a 5 members council was there in Gupta's administration, so called as a Panchamandali, and the village was the smallest administrative unit. And next level. So dear students, you can observe that from king to Grama or Gopa or Vishaya, we can decentralizing the entire kingdom from king to at a grassroots level, or at village level, smallest unit of the Gupta's kingdom. Okay, and Kutumbis and Mahamatras are other words used for similar village level officers. So Kutumbis are the smallest unit, and even smallest unit of the village level. So they are smaller, similar to village level officers. The terms nivar, nivartana and kulavyapa, kulyavapa and dronavapa were used for land measurements, and also argatta or gatiyantras were the instruments for irrigation. So there was a, technically their Gupta kings was sound compared with Mauryans. Okay, so they used machinery for cultivation or irrigation called as a argata and gatiyantras, right, for irrigation, which were known earlier and now became more popular during Gupta's period. So the period was also marked by giving or growing significance of land grant, which led to decentralization of political authority of the king, and finally gave birth to feudalism in Indian history. So, dear students, you can observe how was feudalism was started in India. So the roots in Gupta's, Gupta's period or Gupta's empire. Then the expanding scope happened because the state raised too many taxes to maintain large officials and too many coppers coins to pay minor employees. For first layer or toppest administrative officers got gold kind of coins, and lowest administrative people got copper coins, so minor employees. And naturally the many of the functions once performed by the central government devolved on the village administration, which was dominated by feudal and influential elements. Then now, how was the military administration in Guptas or Gupta kings maintained? So the grades of military commanders wise those Mahabhaladikarta and Mahadandanayaka and Senapati came into exist. The cavalry and elephant crops and perhaps also the infantry were organized under separate commands or commanders. Sometimes the civil officials such as Amatyas, Kumara Amatyas, etc. performed military functions and were promoted the rank and high military officers. Okay. So we can note down one point here. So there was a military administration, a strong military administration, and also there was a ranking system started in Gupta's administration. Okay, and so we can conclude that Gupta kingdom mainly depend on land revenue and irrigation, and collecting of taxes. Then land grants. So there was a systematic land administration we can see in Gupta kingdom, and a very revealing feature of the Gupta's administration was the payment of grants in land instead of salaries. So there was a land collection, a land tax collection for payments or paying of salaries in Gupta's era. Only personnel of the military service were paid cash salaries. So there was a paid salaries for military administration. The grants in land were of two kinds: the agrahara grant given to Brahmins. So there was a Varnashma Dharma and the Agrahara grant given to the Brahmins was tax-free, and the second variety of land grant was given to secular officials, either as salary or as reward for their services. Both these practices were widely used as the time passed by. According to critics, so many criticism for Gupta's administration. So there was a critics those these land grants weaken the authority of the king. So there is a criticism. This type of land grants weaken the the king or king authority. Although technically the king could cancel the grants, he could not do so as the time passed by. Okay. So mainly the Guptas was donated Agraharas to the Brahmins, and that secular grants also was there. And the following list of officials and functions maintained against their names reveals that empire efforts of Gupta's rules to the foundation of effective and systematic governance of the empire. We can see here a few names and their roles. Okay, so Mahabaladikarta is nothing but commander-in-chief. His function, commander-in-chief or military administration. Okay, Mahadandanayaka is nothing but is a chief justice. Okay, then Mahaparthyar, he will maintain maintenance of royal palaces. Then Mahasandhi Vigraha or Sandhi Vigrahaka. Okay, so Sandhi Vigrahaka will see or look after the war and peace. Okay, so Danda Poshaka actually. So Danda Poshaka is the head of the police department. Now we can see DGP, DSP kind of powers he vested. Okay, then Mahashwabati will overview the maintain the cavalry, and Vinayapura and Yukta Praharika and Mahapranapati. We can overview the titles and their roles. Okay, then after the Gupta's empire, there was a huge change in Indian history from Guptas to Mughals. So after that Gupta's administration, Mughal empires ruled very lengthy. So and after the Mughals, after Mauryans and Guptas, Mughals was got little high time to settle down here. For that, now we will slowly enter the Mughal administration or Mughal period, and also we can see the British period. In the medieval period, the Mughal Empire was one of the greatest empires who ruled India for more than 3 centuries. So they have plenty of time to rule and to settle and to establish a systematic administrative system in India, which gave them enough time to and opportunity to plan and strengthen the administrative system in India. However, this credit goes to the Akbar. So Akbar was a great empire for Mughal dynasty. So who succeeded in bringing the administrative a certain standard and perfection. So Akbar's system of administration continued for more than 200 years. The Indian administrative system at present is largely a legacy of the British rule in pre-independence India. The contribution of the British administrative structure in India is immense. The following paras or following discussion will throw light on the distant feature of both the Mughal and British administration and its relevance to the present day and society. So the main features of Mughal administration was the Mughal administration presented a combination of Perso-Arabic system in Indian setting. So there was a Mughal rulers. So these rulers was adapted their administrative system from Persia or Persia and Arabic system, and they are fitted their system into Indian setting. So the emperor was the head of administration, as you know. So emperor or king is the kingpin of the state. So the emperor was the head of the administration and the state. He so in Mughal administration, so emperor called as a state. He was the lawmaker as well as dispenser of justice, the commander in chief and fountainhead of all honors. He was the source of all authority. So all authorities, in king's hand in Mughal administration. So the Mughal emperor accepted two primary duties for themselves: Jan Bhani, protection of of the state, and Jahangiri, extension of the empire. The attempted to create those conditions which were conducive to economic and cultural progress of their subjects. They devoted a lot of time to look after the affairs of the state. The Mughal administration or the Mughal administrative system was in the nature of military rule and was necessarily a centralized despotism. However, Akbar used to say, tyranny is unlawful in everyone, especially in a sovereign who is guardian of the public. He also observed divine worship in monarchs consist in their system or justice and good administration. So Mughals, particularly during the region of Akbar, made considerable efforts for the effective governance of their empire. The main framework of administrative organization endured till the English East India companies stepped into the shoes of the Mughal emperors. So, dear students, we have a little discussion about this. Before enter of East India Company in India, so there was a huge administrative system ruled by or created by Mughal emperors. So Mughal emperors was the founders of present administrative system. After that, the East India Company was entered, and they were changed the rules and regulations of the entire the Mughal Empire settings or administrative settings. Now, what was the king's role in Mughal administration? So Mughal emperors considers themselves as God's representatives on earth. Usually all kings think like they're God's representatives. Not only Mughal emperors, before also, like Guptas and not Mauryans, Guptas started this type of thinking ideology. After that, Mughals continued. So God's representatives on the earth. they claimed to be the shadow of God or visible gods, or Wakil to God, or Khalifa of her country. Okay. Uh, Abul Fazl. Abul Fazl, he was a well-known historian and scholar. Abul Fazl of he was a historian of Akbar's age. In his preface, he wrote a preface. The loyalty, his preface to Aine Akbari. Aine Akbari, he said that no dignity is higher in the eyes of God than royalty, and those who are wise drink from its auspicious fountain. He further held royalty is a light emanating from God as a ray from the sun. So you know, he has given a very big role to the king in his Aini Akbari preface. The king was a fountain of all honors, as I said, and source of administrative power. Okay, then and is the dispenser of supreme justice and the chief legislator. Okay, so he can create create the laws or policies, and he can destroy the policies and entire law, because he is the ultimate power to the kingdom or empire. So the entire and administration machinery revolved around the king. So total king is a key pin. Okay, the king was the final arbiter in all aspects of administration. From the time of Akbar, the king was regarded as God representative on earth. Okay, so finally, king was the supreme power. We can conclude this king kind of discussion. Okay, next administrative framework uh, or council of ministers. What was the role of council of ministers? And the Mughals built up strong administrative setup to rule their West Kingdom, and they have a vast kingdom, and the king was assisted by four important officials. Each one of these used head to head revenue and finance. For revenue and finance, Diwani or Vakil. Army, army, army or war kind of things look after by Mir Bakshi or Mir Baksh. Okay, and ecological or ecologistic and Didujal or Sardar, and factories and stores Mir Saman. Dear students, I will do one thing. I will create a flow chart for this Mughal administration, and I will share with you in next class. That can be useful to know the how the Mughal administrative setup was there, and you can easily write into examination by using of that flow chart. Otherwise, yeah, you can also create a flow chart by referring of this Mughal administration, because it also one of the expected question in your final examination, and you have to read enter this chapter for to get any kind of competitive examination. So the kind of things. Okay, so Mir Baksh and Sardar, factories for factories and stores Mir Saman. These four officials used to advise the kings on all important matters. Okay, and they were all of the same rank actually. These four officials was same rank and started same status except Diwan. So we can we can know that the Diwan is a next next to the king. Diwan. Wazir during the Akbar's time And however, it was not necessary for the Mughal emperor to consult his ministers, and on all occasions and at the time of Mughal emperor had no regular council ministers. So even there is no reassemble or imbalance between Mughal and present council ministers. Okay, next. Uh, so I think it's time over. Uh, any doubts, dear students? Any doubts? Please, you can post your doubt in chat box.
No doubt, sir.
Right. So can we stop here? Can we stop? We can do one thing next. In next week, I will share a few flow charts and material to you for this topic, and that can be easy to understand the Mauryan, from Mauryan to British administration or administrative systems. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, dear students.
Thank you, sir.